Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. It sounds like this old dude had mastered the art of karma enforcement, using a blend of patience and wit to mete out justice on the road. The poetic justice of turning a 20-minute delay into nearly an hour for those who felt they were above the law is quite satisfying. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Ignore the red lights and cones at your peril. This isn't really my malicious compliance, as I was just a slightly hot and grumpy witness, but it just popped into my mind on home from my shift, and I figured I'd post it here. About a decade ago, while I was waiting for my current department to hire, I took a job with a private EMS company as an EMT1 on a fast response motorcycle unit, contracted out to our local freeway agency for accident response. It was an okay gig. Long hours and riding 300+ kilometers every day killed my love of biking, but it beat the hell out of working on an ambulance. The same agency also staffed pickups with safety crews for the purpose of lane closures and scene safety. While we were a quasi-governmental unit, we had no real authority outside of that allowed to us by the Fire Brigade Services Act, and often had motorists ignore our suggestions when it came to not driving through accident scenes. This meant that police units still had to smack pee-pees occasionally, and it was usually quite fun to watch. I had the pleasure of working the same stretch of freeway as a certain Metro Police motor unit, and I watched him screw with people a few times. Two specific times come to mind. The first time I saw this salty old bugger use his powers of craphousery was after a multi-vehicle pileup just after an aggressive bend in the freeway that closed down 3 of the 4 lanes of traffic, causing a line of cars that stretched for a few kilometers back around the bend, meaning that cars at the rear couldn't see what was causing the delay up front. A number of drivers decided that they were too important to wait and drove up to the hard shoulder, half on the road and half on the grass, to mosey on by the accident scene, leaving the rule-abiding drivers to sit in the hot sun looking at us with dismay. After a few of them snuck by, nearly hitting crews who were busy treating patients and almost taking out a recovery vehicle, this absolute stud of a man got fed up and moved his bike into the shoulder, but in such a way that they weren't able to see him. Every car he stopped got told to park up and wait while he waited for his next victim. After he'd collected a gaggle of about 20 of them, he slowly made his way up the line, ticket book in hand, to have an unhurried chat with each driver individually. Not only did I get to watch each idiot eat an almighty fine for leaving the roadway and ignoring emergency vehicles, they also had the pleasure of sitting there as the scene was cleared before being allowed back into traffic, turning a 20-minute delay into nearly an hour of baking in the noonday sun. There was much gnashing of teeth and mutterings of, "Don't you have anything better to do, officer?" While that was pretty funny to me, the best I saw of him was a few months later when we got a call for a scrap metal hauler that was quite impressively overloaded, that had managed to roll over while on the 2-lane overpass connecting the same national freeway to the city freeway that led into the industrial area south of the city center. This thing must have been pushing 40,000 kilograms when it wedged itself nose against the right-hand concrete barrier and tall, digging a deep gouge into the counterpart barrier on the left. This meant that there wasn't a ball hair on either side of the truck, and traffic was diverted at the scene entrance to the overpass, around 500 meters up from the scene. I didn't technically need to be there at this point, as the driver had been taken to hospital and the road was closed, awaiting the arrival of 2 heavy rigs to lift and recover the truck and contents. I was leaning on my Suzuki, perving over this officer's BMW R1200 RT, when we noticed that the crew of the safety unit at the closure was having difficulty with a vehicle that seemed to think they were above the law and were aggressively trying to get by the pickup, cones, and angry men in reflective gear. Seeing this and the potential for injury, he told them to wave the car through. As it zoomed down and then up to us on the top of the overpass, he winked at me, and when they stopped behind the very heavy and very wedged truck, he wandered over to have a chat with the driver, who was apparently the spokeswoman for the 4-strong irritation of Karens within. The crux of his chat with her was that he certainly understood their point about needing to get to their highly important destination, but that the road they had elected to use was currently blocked by 40 tons of mangled steel, and he was sure they would agree it would be dangerous for her to drive back against traffic, considering that we had heavy rigs and support vehicles arriving and setting up. He apologized for the inconvenience, but directed them to park up by our bikes and wait for the rigs to do their thing, after which we could all be on our merry way. It took about an hour to get the road clear, after which they most definitely weren't making eye contact and appeared like beaten dogs as he finally wished them safe travels on their way. So, Karen, what's your specialist area of expertise? In what way can you assist with this accident scene? You seemed in such a rush, ignoring the warnings. You must be able to assist somehow. And our second story. It's good to have friends. So this happened 30 plus years ago in North Texas. I'm obviously an old dude and have never posted here before, so give me a break on all the usual stuff. Me, 19-year-old, group I was with, Dan, awesome dude I know. I'd recently flunked out of a small liberal arts college in way North Texas and had to move in with my dad, hard but redneck, and my stepmother, everything the title implies, who lived in a super small town about 30 minutes from the school I flunked out of. Needless to say, not the best time of my life. My old man was convinced that my friends at school were the problem. Not true. The problem was me, alcohol, guitar, the Grateful Dead, and my friends. Dad wanted me to cultivate a new set of friends, so he got with a buddy of his who hooked me up with his grandson, who was a good kid and was about my age, to go out. We made plans to do something on the weekend, and needless to say, it went awry. Grandson was an okay guy, but total redneck. Matters. He was going out with some total redneck frat kid he knew and a couple of girls. Add one weirdo to the mix. I knew the gig. They wanted to get messed up and screw the girls. To be fair, at 19, that's about all I wanted to do as well. They decided to go to a club 30 to 45 minutes away, and we jumped in the car and headed out. They were all looking at me kind of side-eyed. Redneck kids meet a redneck hippie and started talking about fake IDs and getting into this club. I didn't have a fake ID and all of a sudden became the dumb butt who was ruining their awesome night out going to some crappy club. 30 to 45 minutes driving through the dark in bum F North Texas with them talking crap and the girls giggling. I told them I didn't think it would be an issue. Probably not true, but screw them. But they were convinced that I'd effed up their whole night out and weren't shy about me being a drag. So we all made a plan. We would all line up for ID check and to pay the cover with me up front. If I got in, great. They'd follow me in. If I didn't get in, I sucked and ruined everything they'd tried so hard all of their lives to accomplish. We lined up, and all the while the group is talking about the scary black guy who looks mean checking IDs. They're concerned. Great, now I'm dealing with small-town racism. I look up at the door checking IDs. Dan, a friend of mine from college. Here's the win. Dan's about 6'4", muscled up, very sweet, and to the shock of the group, very black. Dan hollers my name, gives me a big hug, and tells me to go on in without paying a cover or checking my ID. I thanked him and hauled butt inside to the bar to get my drinks before they figure out I'm underage. About the time I ordered my second beer, my buddy Dan comes up behind me, apologizes, and says my friends all had fake IDs and they didn't get in. I said, "Aw, hell, Dan, not your fault. I'm sorry we bothered you." He told me it wasn't a big deal and to go ahead and finish my beer. He'd make sure they waited for me till I got done. I did just that. When I got back out, the group was pretty quiet. We drove to Deep Ellum and drank coffee, which was more my speed anyway. I still think about this revenge occasionally some 30-odd years later and laugh. I keep picturing you in about 20 or 30 years from now, sitting on your porch, wistfully looking across the field, whittling something cool, telling your kids or great-grandkids this story. Your son walks out, tells the kids to finish their lemonade or iced tea and come on inside. They all go in and you light up the joint you've kept in your shirt pocket and smile while you continue to reminisce. And our last story. It's your fault I got fined for my lawn. So a little bit of backstory. The house next door to mine was hit by tornado debris, and so was my shed, and has been vacant for about a year. We still talk to the neighbors who are in the process of getting insurance to build them a whole new house and pay for their temporary housing until the insurance company finally pays enough for the whole thing to be fixed 100% and then some. However, after a couple months, their lawn grew unruly, which the city can't fine them for because it's an insurance problem. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was we started seeing pests that we'd never seen in our houses before, because with the tall grass, they were now encouraged to live near us. So for this last year, I've been mowing my and my neighbor's lawn, and they've agreed to pay me once the insurance check pays them out for the upkeep. This helps keep those pests out of our house, and we've tacked on an extermination fee onto the insurance for it. I have no idea how this works, but that contractor knew how to make the insurance people pay. With that out of the way, 2 houses down, we've had this other neighbor. I think he recently had his mother move in, as these people and I do not talk, but I've only seen this woman for the last couple weeks. The last thing I want to say, I'm allergic to grass. Only thing I'm allergic to, so I absolutely hate mowing it. I always have to wear a mask and take Benadryl after. To the story. I'm mowing my yard a couple weeks ago, and then the neighbors, the middle-aged older lady, comes out and tries flagging me down. EO, yoo-hoo! Once you're done, we need our lawn mowed. Me, sorry, I'm not doing any other lawns other than these 2. EL, but you haven't mowed our lawn in months. Me, ma'am, I've never mowed your lawn. It's not my lawn. And I'm only doing this to keep rats and snakes from making nests near my house. EL, but you're supposed to do our yard. We're paying you to do it. Me, no, you're not. We don't have an HOA. You're supposed to do that yourself. EL, don't talk back to me. Just do it or we'll talk to your boss. Do HOA hired lawn care people call the HOA or the lawn care company? I don't know. And do HOA usually hire people that live in that street to do it? I don't know. We don't live in an HOA community. I ignored it. It was mild and stupid. I did what I was supposed to do, go take a shower and Benadryl and pass out. Now this morning I hear her beating on my door and a shrill voice. I know you're in there. I can see your car. I come to the door. Yeah, what do you want? EL, she's standing out in the rain with a piece of paper. We just got fined $500 for our yard. This is your fault. Either you pay it now or we'll sue you for double for the time wasted for you not doing your job. Me, pretty sure I went cross-eyed, as I've been told I do that when I hear really stupid things. It's not my fault. It's not my job. The homeowner is usually the one that mows the lawn. I told you this last time. I did my due diligence. I shut the door on her to hear her start screaming obscenities. It's pouring rain hard, has been for days, and she's figured out that standing in the rain and screaming like a lunatic was going to get something done. Just to clarify, I'm not sure if she's the former 2 house down's mom or not, as I still see him drive into the driveway, but I'm just making an assumption. So this isn't the neighbor that you're mowing the lawn for, but a random that just wants free lawn care? Next time she comes to the door, call the police on her as a trespasser. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.